Here's Brody Brazil.
I've probably already made a pretty big statement with the title of this video alone, in suggesting that the Stanley Cup is the hardest trophy to win in all of sports. Instantly, some of you already just agree with me. There's not much more to be said. You're already on board. You just want to hear me spell this out. Others of you are kind of on the fence. You could go one way or another. You want to be convinced. You're not sure, but you're at least willing to hear me out. And maybe there's some of you who think there's a harder trophy to win, and I'm wrong, and you're just waiting for me to prove you right. We'll see how this unfolds, but before we get to my thoughts, I want you to hear from Tyler Seguin of the Dallas Stars. This is what he said right after his team was eliminated.
Hockey's hard, you need a lot of things to go right. You need to have that opportunity. We had that opportunity. We went through a gauntlet and beat some really good teams, and knew we had something special, and lost to a team that we thought we could beat. And sometimes that's playoffs. Sometimes it's that one bounce, that one goal, one save. That's why we all love it. That's why this is the hardest damn trophy in the world to win. With respect to the Oilers, they've been grinding for years, and I know some of those guys pretty well from back in Toronto, and wish them the best next round. Heck yeah. These teams that lose in these moments, you see them over time. The Vegases, the Floridas, the Tampas. Unfortunately, you got to lose a lot to win in this league. I don't know why it's like that, but learn some lessons, keep this taste, and get ready for next year.
Was there a moment
it's a great
in the
comment.
series where you felt like it sort of turned? Was it maybe Game 4 when they got that shorthanded goal?
There wasn't a moment in this series till the buzzer just now where I thought we weren't going to win or didn't deserve to win, or thought that we could earn it, and we didn't. And that's what playoff hockey is.
So many great takeaways there. And I think the overwhelming overall theme is how many great teams every single season just don't even make it to the Stanley Cup final. In other sports, I don't know if there are so many great teams that don't even get a chance to play for the respective league championship. It seems like every spring into early summer of the calendar year of the NHL season, there's a bunch of hockey teams that don't even get a chance to play for the Stanley Cup. Here, in my opinion, are all the things you need to have a chance to win the Stanley Cup. This is kind of like the recipe, or the ingredients, so to speak. The recipe, there's probably a bunch of different ways these could come together, but these are the things I think that certainly help. Number one, you need a well-paced regular season. By that, a good regular season, one that gets you in the playoffs, obviously, but you don't want to be riding the highs too high and certainly the lows too low, where you need to turn things around and play catch-up the second half of the season. You also don't want to be great the first half and then struggle the second half and barely back your way in and have confidence issues and question marks. Just a well-paced regular season, I think, is the foundation of a good postseason and a shot to win the Stanley Cup. Good timing, as Tyler suggested there. Health is a huge concern in the NHL. You might play 25, 26 extra games after 82. And your players are bruised and banged up and beat up. And if it's your most important players and they're going to play through everything, that's the thing about the NHL. Players are rarely ever out. They're in there. They're just not the same because they're so injured and depleted that it's hard for them to perform up to their capabilities. Every team has that. It's to what degree your team is suffering health-wise compared to the opponent. You need good timing in terms of streaks. Yeah, and hockey's kind of streaky. Baseball's a little bit that way too. You're on a hit streak. You're on a goal streak. You're on a point streak. I meant hit like baseball hit streak. But those two sports kind of have that relation where offenses can go streaky, teams can be a little bit streaky. So like I said before, you want to be hitting your stride entering the playoffs. You don't want your team to have peaked in November, December, January, February. In the Stanley Cup playoffs, like a lot of different sports, I think this is important. This is obvious. Your best players have to be just that, your best players. But it's also more than one standout alone. I think that's the thing about the NBA. With so few players on the court at all times and so few players on every team, every player matters that much more. In hockey, 40 dressed players out there on the ice, approximately, you're going to need your star players to be your star players, but you're also going to need your fifth and sixth defensemen to be really good. You're also going to need your third line of forwards and your fourth line of forwards to contribute. You might need your backup goaltender here and there throughout a series, throughout a playoffs, however it shakes out. So you need a full team effort in hockey, I think, as much as in any sport, if not more than any sport. I also think the one thing about the hockey playoffs and the way that the postseason is structured, there's a possible round, game 7 in every single round. That means, and this has happened, to win the cup, you have to win, or play, I should say, 28 games and win 16 of them. It's difficult. It is very difficult, these Stanley Cup playoffs. How many teams get in? Obviously, how many get eliminated? The gauntlet that Tyler referred to, I think that's also a great way to put it. You have to, honestly, avoid as many Game 7s as you can. And it's not just because it's sudden death. You lose and you're going home. It's not just that. It's that if you've played to the full 7 games of every round, imagine your chances of how you're going to be in that Stanley Cup final against the opponent who's only played, 15 games thus far, as opposed to your 21. And yes, you need good luck in terms of the bounces and the saves and the puck luck, the stuff that has really nothing to do with strategy or X's and O's, or what players on what team. It's just the way the puck literally bounced. In super, super slow motion, we all know how that goes. So good timing, good health, best players, great players, good luck in terms of how things go, and good luck in terms of the bounces. Like, that's a lot going on there that it seems like you need all of that to kind of intertwine. And it does for one team every year, but man, that's a lot to have to go right. And the reality is this: if you don't trust me, trust ESPN.com. They tell us that since 2006, when the NHL kind of went through its labor issues and kind of restructured in a bunch of different ways, since 2006, the first place NHL team, right, the team that wins the President's Trophy, best regular season record, they have the lowest odds of winning the actual championship. In this case, it's the Stanley Cup, compared to the Larry O'Brien Trophy of the NBA, the Commissioner's Trophy of Major League Baseball, and obviously the Lombardi Trophy in the NFL with the Super Bowl. So just think about that for a second. The best NHL team of the regular season has the lowest odds of winning the championship as opposed to all the other leagues? I mean, that just speaks to the competition, and the NHL is different, right? Hard salary cap, so much parity, so many teams making the playoffs, so many playoff games. It's not like the NFL, where there's only one game per week, and that is your entire round. That one Sunday or Saturday or whatever day the game is played on, that is your one day and one round, all in one game right there. The NFL has the fewest games to actually get to the title, which is obviously the Super Bowl, and I would say that usually the best teams at least get to the conference championship, right? The best teams represent the Final Four, 2 in the NFC, 2 in the AFC. I think on a pretty regular basis, and there are some upsets, don't get me wrong. That's why we watch sports. It's never to say that any of this is so formulaic that it always happens this way, but generally speaking, the best teams in the NFL at least get to the conference championships. And a lot of times the best teams are represented in the Super Bowl. It's the ones that people pegged halfway through the year. These are the front runners. This is kind of how it's going to go. In the NBA, it's a little bit of a different beast, so to speak, in that if your team is built with 2 to 3 star players and they're healthy down the stretch and there's no problems there, and the matchup bodes well in your favor, that group of players, that 2 or 3 star players of your team, they can carry your group a long ways. I've seen it with the Golden State Warriors, and I also am here to tell you, you should never diminish what the role players do, what they mean, the 4th and 5th and 6th player on the team, and first 2 or 3 guys off the bench. No doubt, it's a team sport. But generally speaking, your star players can carry the brunt of that workload. And in baseball, it's probably the most luck-based winning the championship situation outside of the NHL. It's how your offense goes. Scoring comes at a premium in the playoffs. Playoff baseball is unlike the regular season. Getting runs is so difficult every postseason. So it is a little bit more luck-based, how your offense is doing, which players are streaking offensively. Definitely baseball has a little bit more of that taste to hockey. But in terms of what is overall the hardest trophy to win in all of sports. I'm giving it to the Stanley Cup, and I'm saying that maybe it hasn't always been that way, but right here, right now, that's definitely the case. You let me know if you agree with me, if I'm right, if I'm wrong, in the comment section down below. And also, since you've made it here to the end of this video, thumbs up down below. That'll greatly help me, this video, and this channel. And I would also appreciate it if you would just take a second. If you've never seen me or any of this before, that's great. I'm glad you found me. But make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button right now so I can definitely get to see you back here next time.